I would like to call the June 10th Morganton Board of Adjustment meeting to order at this time. The first item of business is the nomination of a chair and a vice chair to be elected at this time. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chairman, I would like to nominate Beth Walker to be chair, and I would like to nominate yourself, Patricia Williams, to be vice chair.
I second the motion.
Is there any other nominations? Then if not, I would like to take a vote. Everybody in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. Then Beth Walker is nominated and elected as the chairman of the Board of Adjustment and Patricia Williams as the vice chair.
Thank you. The minutes of the April meeting will be available at the next meeting. Tonight we are considering a variance request, and I would like to read the factors relevant to the issuance of a variance. No matter how well-intentioned and no matter how carefully zoning ordinances are prepared, there are many instances in which the real application of the zoning ordinance creates an unusual problem for the landowner, and it is our responsibility to try to deal with those unique hardships that are created. This Board of Adjustment is given limited direction in deciding whether to grant a variance. Under the North Carolina state law, this board is required to reach three conclusions before it may issue a variance. These are: 1, that there are practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships in carrying out the strict letter of the ordinance such that the property owner can secure no reasonable return or make no reasonable use of the property. Such hardship must result from unique circumstances related to the applicant's land, and the hardship is not the result of the applicant's own actions. 2, that in issuing the variance, it is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance and preserves its spirit. 3, that in issuing the variance, it secures the public safety and welfare and does substantial justice to the community as a whole. A 4/5 majority is required to approve any variance request. The board is willing to hear all relevant testimony, but asks that repetitive testimony be kept to a minimum so that the meeting can move forward. Tonight, based upon the presence of 4 members, this decision must be unanimous in order to pass. Mr. Vinson, do you wish to proceed with only 4 members tonight? Okay. Russ, I'll ask you to explain the variance.
Okay. You want to swear?
Do I need to swear you in, or Mr.?
Yes, I need to be sworn in.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone actually needs to be sworn in at that podium.
Okay. Where's the Bible?
It's on the podium.
Okay. Would you please be sworn in, Russ?
Yes. Mr. Vincent, do you plan to speak?
Okay. Please place your left hand on the Bible. Raise your right hand and repeat after me.
Just 1 second. I'm sorry. The Bible was right here right before the meeting.
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name.
Russ Cochran, Senior Planner with the City of Morganton. Okay. I'll go ahead and explain. Okay. I'm going to explain the request for the variance this evening. The applicant is requesting to place a home on a lot not served by a city or state maintained road. Truex Road is the road we're speaking of. City ordinance requires that residences be developed off of a city or state maintained road. Otherwise, a variance is required. This lot is zoned residential transition and meets the zoning size requirements at just over 1/2 acre. The lot is served by the City of Morganton Water and require a septic tank for sewer. Truex Road is approximately 10 feet wide and 670 feet long and is actually gravel for its entire length. The residential transition allows for both manufactured and site-built types of residential dwellings. The applicant is requesting to put a double-wide manufactured home on the property. There are 3 other houses currently located along Truax Road.
And what is the variance that is requested?
The reason for the variance being requested, it is that this parcel of land is not on a city or state maintained road. It does not have a 40-foot 40-foot wide right of way, and is therefore not. It's not no 40-foot right of way, and is not up to city or state standards. City standards would require it to be paved, so on and so forth, like that, and so would the DOT standards. And other issues, including right-of-way and some other issues that will probably be brought out here, or the reason it's not allowed to be developed without coming through this board.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Cochran regarding the variance?
Well, first of all, I want it would you clarify, please, that the mobile home is not on the property at this time?
That is correct.
It's my understanding that it's currently in use as a fellowship hall.
Chad, can you bring
The
up that
church.
map? I have an air photo. It didn't turn out quite well enough. But as you can see, there's actually 3 lots in a row that come off Truax Road.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, and I once again apologize for the quality of the air photo here, but the first one actually has a dwelling on it. There is nothing on the lot that is outlined in black there, which is the vacant lot we're discussing tonight. And then very close up on the top to the next lot, you can see a manufactured home. So the lot we're talking about is the one here in the middle that is vacant.
So there are structures on either side of this lot?
That's correct, but there's not one on this.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you have a question, Mr.
Further
Gibson?
question. The practical difficulty is that this, even if they put the unit there, it could not be connected to city water, et cetera.
Well, actually, there is actually water running down Truax Road. Sewer.
Would be allowed to connect.
Yes.
They would be.
They would be
without
allowed.
the variance. They could connect.
Well, by the fact that the variance does not allow them to actually put the manufactured home on the lot, they would that
Except
would
for
be the
storage
first thing.
purposes or something.
Well, even really not even. We really don't even technically
Couldn't put it
allow
on
for
there,
that.
period.
Right.
Not the variance.
Okay.
Yeah. Without the variance, so therefore that kind of nixes the need for water, because if you can't get it down there.
And the septic tank there is no septic tank there now, so
That's
they'd
correct.
have to go through city approval for a number of different steps after they received a variance, if they received a variance.
Well, if a variance was received, then we would issue basically clearing them to be able to get the health department to come out and look and see if
To
it's
go
able
through the rest of the
yeah,
approval
for
procedures.
septic tanks. Yeah, and connect up to water. So everything is key to the decision here.
Does that variance go with the property?
It does.
So that if the property is transferred in the future, they still have a variance to put something else on there?
That is correct. This variance
Even
was
if they upgrade and put multifamily and so forth and so on?
right. Whatever is allowed by this particular zoning.
And the particular zoning now allows how much increase in density?
This particular size of this lot would allow for, I would have to go back and look at the exact amount of density, but it would allow for some number of multifamily, but it would be a very small amount.
Well, right now they're basically R4, is that correct?
It's actually it's RT is what the zoning
I mean, in terms of from a practical standpoint, they're not seeking to have more density now than what would be allowed by R4.
No.
But they might go to R6 or R8 or R10, or at this point it's hypothetical as to how high they might go if we granted a variance.
Well, the only thing, once again, whether they had they were seeking for just double wide manufactured housing or anything else allowed under the residential transition, they are allowed to go up to the maximum of whatever the residential transition allows, the density, whatever that is. That's not really in question tonight. If they were allowed to develop, they would be allowed to develop to the maximum extent that the residential transition allows.
And they would not have to come back before this board or anybody else to ask for a new variance based upon the increased density? I'd like a clarification from our attorney if we can.
Right.
Would you be sworn?
I don't think I need to be sworn, but I can report to you.
Okay.
My name's Louis Veni, City Attorney. As I understand it, from the information provided in the agenda and all, the applicant is requesting action, it's in the nature of a variance under zoning section 9-4004C, which makes certain exceptions to what's otherwise the requirement that the property have street access, public street access. That ordinance section specifically says that the rule on the street access, which is what you're addressing here, there's an exception to that rule for one single-family dwelling or one mobile home, if allowed as a special exception by the Board of Adjustment, even though the lot does not abut a public street.
So, in fact, if at some future point somebody said we want to have R6 or R8 or, whatever practical level, that wouldn't have been allowed by a vote of this board. They would be only allowed for the specific use that they're requesting right now. That is the double wide going in on the property.
Well, I don't want to.
I'm asking
want to answer carefully that all that the special exception, which is what I understand is the way you can address this, deals with a single residence, whether it's a stick-built or a mobile home.
Okay.
Now, I can't say something else couldn't be considered in the future, but the action you take, if you're taking it pursuant to this section, which is my understanding, would allow only a single residence.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification.
I think that addresses that question. Now, that's my understanding that that's the appropriate section of the city ordinance to deal with.
Thank you very much.
Would the applicant wish to speak? Would you like?
Madam Chairperson, I'd like to determine who owns the property at this point, and the actual property on the land itself at this point.
Would you be sworn in
so we can? You're speaking for them as well as
You just come to this podium.
Yeah. Would you place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand, and repeat after me? Or do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I affirm.
Would you please state your name and your address?
Walter Benson, 202 Park Street.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Livesey has a couple questions for you.
Yes.
You don't own you don't own the land itself, is that correct?
Right. I give her a deposit to hold it until we see which way it goes this evening.
So you're seeking to buy the
Right.
the actual land?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a helpful clarification. Thank you.
Has the current owner agreed to sell the property to you?
Yes.
Okay.
You have an agreement? And the sale, I don't guess we need to inquire into that possibility of sale. It would be to him, and I guess it would be contingent upon the sale going through if this board were to grant it.
Any other questions?
It would not go to the present property owner. It would in fact go to you,
Yes.
contingent upon the closing of the sale and so forth.
That's correct.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Vinson?
By the way, it seems like a very nice thing that you're doing for the people involved.
We're trying.
I'm not clear on the submission. There were points that were not
Covered.
well. I'm not speaking to that. There were some places where I could not clearly read, the writing, and I would hope that you, Russ, have a clear record of exactly what was in this. And at this point, I'm not sure that your record is even completely clear.
No, I have essentially what y'all have.
There was something in our packet that was more clear. It was
Tight.
from the Table Rock Baptist Church a variance request, and it's pretty clear.
Yes, there some of it was very clear.
This right here.
Well, I was speaking specifically to, for example,
You were speaking of the applicant's statement of findings of fact.
yes. For example, if you turn to the page, practical difficulties, unnecessary hardships, on my copy, virtually none of that is legible.
I understand.
So
But we had this at the end of it, which, Russ, you see this?
Right.
Sure.
He has a copy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
well, I guess my question is your record sufficiently clear so that
My record is as clear as it needs to be for y'all in order to attain whatever vote that you need to attain tonight. If you have any additional questions, you
I'm good?
need to address them to Mr. Vinson.
Mr. Vinson, do you have any questions of us?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I got a question.
Okay, excuse me.
I'm concerned about this road, the maintenance of the road. The road maintenance is who keeps up that road?
I have no idea.
I can't hear him.
He said he had no idea.
I believe the house, the lady said that her brother-in-law comes over and works on it sometime, but I'm not exactly sure who he is or what it is.
Could you speak a little bit closer to that microphone there, sir? I have a hard time hearing.
I was told that her brother-in-law works on the road sometimes, and I'm not sure what degree or what he does or when he does it. But she lives on that street herself.
Mr. Benson,
Yes.
will the church be the owner of the property, or will they be individuals who are the owner of the property after a sale is consummated?
I'll be the owner.
You will personally be the owner?
Yes, sir.
As the pastor of the church?
Yes,
So the fact that you're a pastor of the church will be incidental to the ownership?
that's correct.
Okay.
Russ, is this, I don't know if this is relevant to what we were to our discussions, but it's my understanding that once a fourth house is placed there, that makes the street eligible for public, for state upkeep. Is that correct?
That was actually something Mr. Vinson had pursued. And speaking with Mr. Tim Anderson, you might have a little bit more clarity on that you actually spoke with Mr. Anderson.
Right. I spoke to Mr. Anderson at DOT. He said that after there's 4 families, we could look at getting connected with the state and the city as far as paved road.
And if this mobile home is moved there and rented out, that will make the fourth family?
I'm not sure. I think it's 3 houses, two houses down on there right currently.
Yeah, before.
There appear to be 3 houses down there now.
Well, does that first one, is it considered Truax or is it considered Linhart Road?
And I would not personally know. I don't know how DOT.
Oh,
I don't know how DOT actually, counts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I really don't.
Another two double wides in a house down there. That's 3.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Vinson? Okay, thank you, Mr. Vinson.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
may I address a question to the board here?
You may.
Not a question, but just a clarification,
Sure.
if in the form of legal advice, as city attorney. The particular section of the ordinance, which Russ has pointed out, you could act under it's in your packet, I think, under 9-4004C. States certain requirements for the exception. One, I think you've already dealt with, that the use in question is a permitted use, and it's only one mobile home or residence. But it also requires two additional things: that the lot be within 300 feet of a publicly maintained street, and that access to the property be available by easement, neighborhood road, or other adequate means. I'm merely calling that to your attention to note that I think you will need to have evidence before you and make findings. If you choose to do that, that you'll have to have evidence and make findings on those 2 points.
Could we go ahead and address those now, the specific ones that you raised?
That's what I was
Okay, do we have evidence that this lot is within 300 feet of a publicly maintained street? That's item one. And then, is the property available, and is access available by easement or neighborhood road or other adequate means? Okay. Now, I presume that it's not available by, that access isn't available by easement, and I don't know what technically a neighborhood road is defined as.
If I may, and again, in form of legal counsel.
Thank you very much.
It's not defined anywhere in the ordinance, I think. I mean, obviously, you have evidence on that point. You can make whatever finding on that basis you want. What I was concerned that you didn't have evidence on was the distance from a public road.
It would seem to me that, yes, I've not seen, has anybody seen anything pertaining to the 300 feet?
Do you know, Mr. Cochran, do you know how far that lot is off of Linhart Road?
It would be less than 300 feet.
It would be less than 300 feet. Mm-hmm. So we're within the 300 feet, and it is accessed by what I guess you would consider a neighborhood road, Truax Road, since there are other houses on that road. Mm-hmm. So it would appear to me that we've met both of those criteria.
And it would appear that we've established on the record that it would meet both of those conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or discussions, do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the variance for the Mr. Vincent, Reverend Vincent request to put a double-wide mobile home on this lot, contingent on that in the next 30 days that we have a written document on who's going to take care of that, the road maintenance, because that is this is not in my motion. I'm just adding, that's a very serious situation, because I went down there twice, and I came back in my truck, and my truck hit the limbs on the road, and you talk about
narrow.
Public safety goes down there with an ambulance or a fire truck, they're going to have a hard time getting down there. Cut the trees back so you can go down there, and that road needs to be maintained. So I make a motion that we approve the variance for Reverend Vincent to place a double-wide mobile home on that property he has secured, and contingent on the fact that we get a written statement pertaining to who's going to maintain the road.
Mr. Rader, can I query you with respect to your motion? He's not at the end of the road, and he doesn't control, the other property owners. I think that if he were to acquire the property, his property would be the first property, on the road as you get to it. Without securing agreements from other persons, it would seem to me that he might be able to make a pledge to you that he could make certain that the road were maintained to his property there But I'm just raising that as an issue. I mean, you don't, I don't think you're trying to, I don't think you would take the position that he has to have agreement from the other three property owners that the road will be maintained all the way to the end. If he gets it to his property, I mean, am I understanding you correctly?
Excuse me.
You want agreement for the whole road?
There's a point of administration.
Okay.
There needs to be a second before discussion. That's
Okay.
my
I'd
understanding.
like to make a second to that
Okay.
motion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded that the variance be approved as requested, contingent upon a road maintenance agreement being implemented within 30 days, or proof of that road maintenance agreement
That-
being in existence.
Would you read it one more time?
Okay.
Oh, you need to put in there that he owns that property. He says he's buying it.
Well, he doesn't own it at this time.
I understood him say he owned the property.
No, he's
No, he's
contingent upon
purchasing
the
it.
variance.
Contingent upon the variance
on
being
the outcome
granted.
here.
We never established as to when the purchase would take place or anything like that. For all I know, it's contingent upon.
Could I ask for an amendment to your motion stating that in addition to the road maintenance agreement, that we are able to see an offer to purchase, a contract between Mr. Carswell and Mr. Vinson, Reverend Vinson?
Thank you.
Okay. Patricia, do you second that
I
also?
second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the variance as requested, contingent upon receiving within 30 days an offer to purchase the property negotiated between Mr. Vinson and Ms. Carswell, and a evidence of a road maintenance agreement. Did I state that correctly? As intended? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any discussion?
I have queries.
Okay.
I don't know what constitutes a legally enforceable road maintenance agreement, for one thing. And I don't know that would have any binding on any of the parties after a variance were granted. Am I misunderstanding something here?
I would think that would be correct. The only thing that the board could bind in any way, from my understanding, and Louis, you may want to step in here, is that anything that Mr. Vinson has control over. He obviously doesn't have control over the entire road, so he could not speak, I don't think, for the other owners along that road or renters or anything else of that nature. And I don't know to what extent we can bind him for doing such things as a road maintenance contract or other things.
Well, if I may address that, no, he doesn't have control over the whole, well, I assume not. I don't know what, if any, road maintenance agreement or easements there may be already on that road. It's possible there's something that affects this property already. I don't know. That's not before us today. The other thing is, I think it's a fair point that there obviously are residences and properties beyond his property on this road, but that's not really of any concern to you, I don't think, any reasonable way of concern to this board tonight. What is concern is getting to this property, and you have the right, as you know, as the BOA, to impose reasonable conditions on the grant of a variance, and
The issue would be, to some degree, whether or not it was reasonable to impose those limits beyond his property.
Well, I suppose that's true, yeah. But, it seems, I think it's a fairly normal sort of, in my experience, condition to say, well, show us, proof of this, of access or maintenance or something like that to this property. I don't see how that would be ever judged to be unreasonable. Now, if you demanded something beyond that, I guess that might raise the question. That's my view of it.
I have another question in regard to that. In order for this to go forward, as far as he would be concerned, he needs 4 votes. Is it out of order to ask that this be tabled to the next meeting, and that until our next meeting, and at that time, at which time presumably he would be able to have more information pertaining to some of the concerns that have been represented? So I'm asking is it in order to ask that something be tabled so that some of your issues can be addressed? Because you're basically saying that he come back, that he provide evidence to somebody subsequent to the meeting, if I'm understanding you correctly, in your main motion, Mr. Rader. Am I misunderstanding?
He would have to provide, he would be providing the documentation to you, wouldn't he,
That's
Mr.
correct.
Cochran?
That's correct.
So in that case, if he had 4 votes today, he would have to establish and we passed the motion as it's stated, he would need to come to you, Mr. Cochran, and provide evidence that you thought was sufficient to meet what the board had asked for,
That's correct.
instead of coming back to the board itself.
That's
Correct.
that's correct.
Okay. Well, as to my first question, is it in order even to make a motion that something be tabled to our next meeting so that the board itself could address whether or not it was satisfied on all issues? Because I think we clearly established that there are some questions that we don't have the information pertaining to today. Is that out of order?
That is one of the options that you have. I might suggest as a staff that you might want to ask the applicant if that was within his timetable, and that will affect his timetable in any manner.
If it's in order, if the motion itself would be in order, I haven't made that motion, and I don't know that there would be a second, but if I made that motion, yes, I think it would be appropriate if you would to inquire whether or not that would met, because he stands the possibility of being voted down, because he didn't get four votes, even if somebody was in favor of him, having some favorable action.
Can I ask a question? If we approve the motion as it's been stated, and that binds him to produce this information to Mr. Cochran before he could move the double wide there. So in effect, if we tabled it to get more information, in my opinion, we don't really need to table it because he has to provide that information to Mr. Cochran anyway.
Let me say this too. I went up to Table Rock Baptist Church, and they've already done the underpinning. They've taken it down. They're getting ready to move that double wide. So delaying it for one more month is going to put a hardship on that guy again. And all you got to do is say in writing that so-and-so's, somebody's taking care of that road. Somebody's taking care of it. It's in good shape. It's just the limbs is hanging over. We want the limbs taken care of, and anything else that might happen to it. Who's responsible? Somebody's keeping up that road. I've been on a lot of roads in the last 6 years. And that road's in pretty good shape.
Yes, it looked pretty good to me,
and so
too.
I think that's not fair to him to
No,
keep him on for one more
I'm trying
month.
to seek to be fair to him. I wanted him to.
And then they all got to do that. Lady's she sold him the land. That's all. I want to know who owns the land. Is it going to be he says he's buying it. Well, as a judicial board, we got to know, is he buying it or not going to buy it? Who owns the land right now? We don't know.
Mr. Vinson, could I ask you to step back to the podium for just a moment for another question? Thank you. The motion currently before the board is to approve the request with the conditions of receiving an offer to purchase between you and Ms. Carswell.
Sure.
And also some type of road maintenance agreement that says that the road is being maintained and who maintains it. Would you be able to comply with those two conditions within 30 days?
As far as the maintaining of the road, I guess I have to do research on that, but I can provide everything else. I guess I can just ask the salesperson, the lady that's selling me the property, who does it. And she may have some information concerning that.
Okay. Who's the realtor that you're working with?
We're not working with a realtor. I'm working with McMurray Law Firm.
Oh, McMurray.
She had the property listed on the side of the road.
Okay.
Land for sale by seller. And I approached her and made a deal with her.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Madam Chairman,
Yes.
if I'm understanding correctly, he's not sure that he can comply with the road maintenance issue at this point. Is that 30 days an issue? The 30 days is not an issue.
No, I need to move the mobile home as soon as possible because we're breaking ground on our new sanctuary, and mobile homes is being there is in the way, and we can't start there until we get rid of the mobile home.
So if you can comply, you would like to be able to move even before 30 days.
Yesterday.
Thank you, Mr. Vinson.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded, and we've had discussion. I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor of approving the variance to Mr. Vinson with the conditions that he supply an offer to purchase contract signed between himself and Ms. Carswell, the current owner of the land, and some type of road maintenance agreement within the next 30 days. Please
That's
say
exactly the motion that we're passing.
That's correct.
Just exactly what you said. Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. Motion passed. Mr. Vinson, we ask that you supply this documentation that we've requested within 30 days to Mr. Cochran. Anyone aggrieved by the decision of the board has 30 days to appeal to the Superior Court of Burke County. Is there any further business to be brought before the board?
Madam Chair, we need to ask the group collectively how or how not, in this case, how the variance has been met with the three things that you wrote
Excuse me.
earlier for obtaining the variance. The three that you had read.
The variance.
Yes, the various factors.
Does the board feel that these three questions have been answered satisfactorily on the variance, that there were practical difficulties or unnecessary hardships, that it's in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance, and that it secures the public safety and welfare? If all agree with that, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any further business to be brought before the board? There being no further business to be brought before the Board of Adjustments, the meeting is adjourned.
30 days, did you make?
Yes.